Picture this, a sleepy cul-de-sac in Willow Creek Estates, Illinois, where every lawn is manicured like it's auditioning for a magazine cover, and every mailbox must be the exact shade of approved beige. On paper, it's paradise. In reality, it's a police state run by one woman and her clipboard. Her name? Veronica Harrington, HOA president, self-appointed queen of the subdivision, and the kind of Karen who measures grass blades with a ruler while lecturing you about community standards. Natalie Patterson rolled her dented 2011 sedan up the winding entrance road, the engine coughing like a chain smoker on its deathbed. She wore the same cheap polyester dress she'd bought on clearance. Hair in a messy bun, scuffed flats, kicking up gravel that probably violated 3 separate bylaws. The welcome committee, Veronica, her husband Gordon, and their daughter Sloan stood on the curb like they were guarding the gates of heaven. Did the moving company send the help to the wrong address again? Veronica's voice floated out, cultured but dripping with that casual venom only people who've never mowed their own lawn can perfect. Honestly, it's so hard to find competent people these days. Natalie froze on the sidewalk, letting the insult sink in like cheap dye on skin. She needed to remember that tone. She needed to remember the way Veronica looked at a woman in $20 flats and saw disposable labor. She plastered on a nervous smile and stepped forward just as Gordon cleared his throat. Natalie, right? Welcome to Willow Creek. We're thrilled. His eyes darted to her car like it might rust the neighborhood's property values on contact. Inside Veronica's sprawling McMansion, the unofficial HOA headquarters, the air smelled of lemon polish and superiority. The living room was staged like a showroom, vaulted ceilings, crystal chandelier, and a coffee table book titled How to Enforce Rules Without Looking Like a Tyrant. Sloan lounged on the velvet sofa, scrolling her phone, already sizing Natalie up like a used appliance. So, you the new girl from the cheap side of the tracks? Sloan smirked, flicking a fingernail against her silk sleeve. Freelance coder. Huh, must be nice not having real responsibilities. Natalie kept her voice soft, shoulders hunched. It pays the bills. I like the flexibility. Veronica glided in with a tray of artisanal water bottles. Flexibility is cute, dear, but here in Willow Creek, we value structure. Our covenants are very clear. No visible trash cans, grass exactly 2.5 inches, and absolutely no political signs. Ever. We had to fine the last family $3,000 for an American flag on the 4th of July. Can you imagine? She laughed like it was the funniest thing in the world. Natalie smiled politely while mentally cataloging every word. A 4th person entered from the study, Miles Hartman, the board's silent investor and Veronica's trusted advisor. He didn't stare at her shoes. He stared straight into her eyes. And for a split second the room felt thinner. Natalie Patterson, he said slowly, like the name tasted familiar. From Oregon? Correct. Her pulse skipped. Miles had connections in logistics, her late Aunt Marie's world. But Natalie widened her eyes in fake innocence. Yes, sir. Small world. They settled into the welcome dinner, which was really an interrogation disguised as hospitality. Veronica tapped her fingernail on her wine glass like a metronome of doom. Tell us, Natalie, how exactly did you afford a home here? Our median price is well. You understand. I saved, Natalie said, voice small, and I work from home. Sloan snorted. Coding. Adorable. Meanwhile, the rest of us carry the actual weight of the community. Gordon shifted uncomfortably, gray-faced and exhausted. He looked like a man who'd been sprinting on a treadmill for 30 years. The HOA dues are current, right? We've had issues lately. Veronica cut him off with a razor smile. Everything's fine, Gordon. We're just tightening a few things. Natalie, we were hoping you volunteer for our new community project, the digital security upgrade. Someone new, someone fresh, would be perfect to sign off on the compliance paperwork. Natalie felt the trap click into place before she even saw it. The evening dragged on with more subtle jabs, comments about her earthy look, jokes about hiking trails versus country club memberships, and not so subtle hints that the previous owner had been encouraged to sell after too many violations. Ethan, Veronica's golden boy son who lived 3 doors down, showed up late, kissed Natalie on the cheek like it was a performance, and stayed mostly silent while his mother sharpened the knives. By the time dessert arrived, Natalie had memorized every micro-expression. They thought they were dealing with a broke freelancer who'd be grateful for any scrap of approval. They had no idea the woman sipping their overpriced wine was the director of security architecture for Northbridge Ledger, holder of 3 blockchain patents, and someone whose bonuses could buy this entire cul-de-sac twice over. But she kept playing the part, because her Aunt Marie had taught her the golden rule. If you want to see someone's real face, make them believe you have nothing they want. After dinner, Natalie excused herself for the powder room. She didn't go there. She slipped down the dimly lit hallway toward the study, rubber soles silent on the Persian rug. The double doors were cracked open. Inside, voices sharp, frantic, no longer polite. Veronica's tone had lost its melody. He's stalling again. I saw the audit report. We're bleeding dues money faster than we can launder it through the fake security project. If the state oversight board digs deeper, we're finished. Sloane's voice cut in, bored and cold. Then we need a fall guy. The new girl is perfect, broke. No connections. No lawyer. Make her the volunteer compliance director. She signs the papers. We claim she mishandled the funds when the auditors come. We walk away clean, and the HOA keeps its perfect record. Veronica laughed. A sound like breaking glass. Exactly. Tell her it's just a formality for the community trust. She'll be dazzled. Meanwhile, the missing $240,000 in consulting fees disappears into our accounts. Sloane, your little SK Solutions LLC is getting sloppy. Fix it before Gordon notices the boat you bought last summer. Natalie pressed against the wall, heart hammering, but her mind was ice. They weren't just petty rule enforcers. They were embezzling homeowner dues, hiding it behind a non-existent digital security upgrade. And now they wanted her name on the liability documents so they could throw her under the bus when the state came knocking. She backed away silently, slipped into the powder room, splashed water on her face, and practiced the shy smile in the mirror. Showtime, she whispered, when she returned to the living room. The atmosphere had shifted to stage-ready romance. Ethan was standing by the fireplace, hands in pockets, looking like a man about to jump off a cliff. Veronica and Sloane wore matching benevolent smiles. Natalie, Ethan said, voice cracking, there's something I've been wanting to ask. He dropped to one knee. Not for marriage. For the HOA, will you accept the position of official compliance director for the Willow Creek Security Initiative? It comes with full signing authority on the project documents. It's a huge honor. The velvet box he opened contained not a ring, but a thick contract folder. The gift that would legally make her responsible for every missing dollar. Natalie let a single perfect tear slide down her cheek. Yes, she whispered, voice trembling with fake gratitude. I'd be honored. The room erupted in fake applause. Veronica clapped like she'd just closed a billion-dollar deal. Sloane smirked behind her hand. They thought they'd hooked their perfect scapegoat. They had no idea they'd just invited the wolf to the slaughterhouse. The next 3 weeks were masterclass in endurance. Natalie woke every morning, slipped on her cheap dress mask, and played the grateful new homeowner while the Harringtons tightened the noose. Fines started arriving in her mailbox. $2.54 lawn height deviation. Her grass was 2.7 inches. $150 for unauthorized bird feeder aesthetic violation. $500 for parking her eyesore sedan in the driveway instead of the garage. Each time she paid without complaint, smiling sweetly at the board meetings. "I'm so sorry, Veronica. I'll do better." Inside, she was already auditing every transaction the HOA had made in the last 5 years. Her home office, hidden behind the freelance coder facade, held 3 monitors worth more than Veronica's chandelier. She traced the missing funds through 3 shell companies, photographed canceled checks, and logged server access to the non-existent security project. The upgrade was nothing but a PowerPoint and some stolen open-source code. One afternoon, Veronica cornered her at the community mailbox cluster. "Darling, we need you to sign the final compliance packet by Friday. It's just a formality so the state sees we're proactive. You understand, don't you?" Natalie nodded, eyes wide. "Of course. Anything for the community." She took the packet home, scanned every page, highlighted the liability clause that transferred all criminal responsibility to the signer, and kept smiling. The real turning point came at the annual HOA Gala, Veronica's favorite event, where she got to wear her gold lame dress and pretend she was running a country club instead of a homeowners association. The community hall was decorated with fairy lights and approved beige tablecloths. A string quartet played while residents mingled, sipping punch that tasted like regret. Natalie arrived in the same cheap dress she'd worn the first day, but this time she carried a slim black clutch that held printed bank statements, server logs, and a USB drive with video of Veronica and Sloan discussing the embezzlement. Veronica spotted her immediately and steered her toward a secluded alcove near the terrace. "Natalie, dear, the board has decided to announce your new role tonight. Right after my speech, you'll sign the papers on stage. Makes it official and dramatic." Her nails dug into Natalie's arm. "Don't embarrass us." Natalie gently removed the hand. "I wouldn't dream of it." The spotlight hit the stage. Veronica tapped her champagne glass. "Ladies and gentlemen of Willow Creek, we have a very special announcement. Our newest resident, Natalie Patterson, has graciously agreed to serve as compliance director for our groundbreaking security initiative." "Natalie, come on up." The crowd clapped politely. Ethan looked pale. Sloan smirked from the wings. Natalie walked to the podium, clutch in hand, microphone in the other. She didn't tremble. She looked out at the sea of faces, neighbors who had rolled their eyes at her old car, who had whispered about lowering property values, who had paid the same inflated dues while Veronica vacationed in Aspen on their money. "Good evening," she began, voice steady. "Thank you all for coming. The Harrington family has been so eager for me to speak tonight. They've been very eager for me to sign my name to their legacy." Veronica's smile faltered. Natalie clicked a remote. The projection screen behind her, meant for happy couple photos of the neighborhood, flashed the first slide, a bank statement showing $240,000 funneled from HOA dues to SK Solutions, LLC. 3 weeks ago, Natalie continued, tone calm but carrying, I was invited to sign documents that would make me personally liable for every dollar missing from our community fund. I was told it was a formality. What they didn't tell me was that the security project doesn't exist. The code repository is empty. The money is gone, and the person who signed those checks. She clicked again. Sloan's name appeared in bright red. Gasps rippled through the hall. Sloan's face drained of color. But wait, Natalie said, voice dropping into that dangerous sweetness. There's more. Because in Willow Creek, we also have rules. Important rules. Like the one that says grass must be exactly 2.5 inches or you get fined. Or the one that bans American flags because they're too political. All while the president uses our dues to buy herself a new boat and a second home in Florida. She clicked once more. Photos of Veronica's vacation properties, purchased with HOA funds, filled the screen. Veronica lunged for the stage. This is slander. Security. Get her off. Natalie didn't flinch. I audited the books. I have the original canceled checks. I have the emails where you discussed making me the fall guy. And I recorded this. She pressed play on her phone. Veronica's own voice filled the hall. The new girl signs. We blame her when the auditors come, and we keep the cash. The room erupted. Chaos didn't explode immediately. It rippled outward like a stone dropped in a perfectly still pond. First the murmurs, then the phones coming out, then the neighbors who had quietly paid every fine for years suddenly realizing their money had funded Veronica's lifestyle. Veronica stood frozen at the edge of the stage. Gold lame dress suddenly looking cheap under the harsh spotlight. This is a misunderstanding, she hissed in the microphone she tried to wrestle from Natalie. The girl is unstable. She's clearly hacked our system. Natalie stepped back, letting Veronica grab the mic. Big mistake. The president's voice boomed across the hall. I built this community. I kept the property values high. Without me, you'd all be living next to people who park RVs in their driveways. A man in the front row, Mr. Alvarez, who'd been fined $800 last year for excessive holiday lights, stood up. You mean the same way you kept values high by stealing our dues? The crowd turned. Phones recorded. Someone started slow clapping. Sloane tried to slink toward the exit, but Miles Hartman blocked her path. Manila folder in hand. Not so fast. These are the original checks from the bank archives. Signed by you. Deposited into your shell company. Gordon, you might want to see this. Gordon Harrington, treasurer, exhausted husband, took the folder. His hand shook so badly the papers rattled. He flipped through them, face going from gray to ghostly white. Sloane, you bought a boat? With payroll money. Sloane's voice cracked. It was a bonus. I was protecting the family image. Gordon looked at his daughter like she was a stranger. You stole from your own neighbors while I refinanced our house twice to cover shortfalls. Veronica spun on her husband. Don't you dare turn on us in front of everyone. But the room had already turned. Mrs. Patel from 2 streets over raised her hand. I want a full forensic audit. Right now. Natalie stayed at the podium. Calm as a surgeon. Already did one. Copies are in the envelope I just handed the state oversight representative sitting in row 3. She nodded toward a quiet man in a gray suit who had been taking notes the entire time. He'll be opening an official investigation at 9 a.m. Tomorrow. Veronica's face twisted into something ugly. You planned this. You came here pretending to be poor. Drove that rust bucket. Let's think you were nothing. And now you're trying to destroy everything I built. Natalie leaned into the microphone, voice soft but crystal clear. I never lied about who I was. You just never bothered to look past my shoes. Because in your world, value is measured by lawn height and mailbox color. Not by character. Not by honesty. She reached into her clutch and pulled out the thick contract they had tried to make her sign. She held it up so the spotlight caught the highlighted liability clause. You wanted me to take the fall for $240,000 in stolen dues. You wanted me to go to prison so you could keep your boat and your vacation home. Well, Veronica, Natalie tore the contract in half, the sound echoing like a gunshot. I'm not signing anything. And neither is anyone else, because the state is freezing the HOA accounts effective immediately. The gray-suited man stood, confirming it with a single nod. The hall erupted into applause. Real applause. The kind that comes from people who have finally been heard after years of being silenced by fines and fear. Ethan pushed through the crowd, face wet with tears. Natalie, please. I didn't know the full extent. Mom said it was just paperwork. I can change. Natalie looked down at him from the stage. Voice gentle but final. You knew enough. Ethan, you knew they were using me. You stood by while they measured my grass and mocked my car and planned to ruin my life. Character isn't something you change overnight. It's what you do when no one's watching. She stepped off the stage, silk dress flowing like armor. The crowd parted for her the way they used to part for Veronica. Veronica wasn't finished. She chased Natalie through the hall, heels clicking like gunfire. You think this is over? I'll sue you for defamation. I'll have the board vote you out. You'll lose your house. Natalie stopped under the fairy lights, turning slowly. Go ahead. Sue me. But remember, discovery is a beautiful thing. A judge will see every email, every offshore transfer, every photo of that boat Sloan bought with our money. And when the state finishes their audit, the only thing you'll be president of is the prison book club. Veronica's mouth opened, closed, opened again. For the first time in 20 years of ruling Willow Creek, she had nothing left to say. Gordon appeared beside her, shoulders slumped, but eyes clear for the first time Natalie had ever seen. It's over. Veronica, the board is calling an emergency vote tomorrow morning. I'm recommending we dissolve your position and return every stolen dollar with interest. Sloan was on her knees near the punch bowl, mascara running, still trying to explain that the boat was an investment. No one was listening. Miles Hartman approached Natalie quietly. I knew who you were the first night. Recognized the Patterson name from your aunt's old shipping days. I could have exposed you. Instead, I watched you work. You didn't just save your own skin. You saved the entire neighborhood. Natalie smiled for the first time all night. A real smile. Someone had to. Outside, the cool night air smelled like freedom instead of lemon polish. Natalie walked to her dented sedan. The valet, actually just a neighbor's teenager, handed her the keys with something like awe. Ma'am, that was legendary. She laughed. Tell everyone the old car stays. It's part of the new aesthetic. No more approved beige only. She slid behind the wheel, engine rattling to life. In the rearview mirror, the community hall glowed like a dying star. But the darkness inside was already spreading. Behind her, the board was already moving. Phones lit up with texts. Emergency meeting at 8 a.m. New rules proposed. No more micromanaging grass. No more ridiculous fines. Full transparency on spending. Veronica's reign was ending before sunrise. Natalie drove home, her real home, paid for with her real money, and parked in her own driveway without a single violation notice waiting. She kicked off the scuff flats, pulled the pins from her hair, and sat down at her command center desk. One last task. She emailed the full audit package to every homeowner in Willow Creek with a simple subject line. Transparency starts now. Then she leaned back, the cloudy compliance director folder long gone, and finally let herself feel the satisfaction. The next morning, the emergency board meeting was standing room only. Veronica arrived in full armor, designer suit, pearls, gavel in hand, but the room felt different. No one stood when she entered. No one called her Madam President. Gordon read the motion himself. Effective immediately, Veronica Harrington is removed from all positions. All accounts will be audited by an independent firm. Every fine collected in the last 5 years will be reviewed for refund. And the new community charter will include one simple rule. Treat your neighbors like humans, not like subjects. The vote was unanimous. Veronica tried one last speech. You'll regret this. Property values will plummet. Chaos will reign. Mr. Alvarez stood up. The only thing plummeting is your ego. Veronica. And honestly, it's about time. Sloan was nowhere to be seen. She'd already lawyered up and was reportedly trying to sell the boat to cover legal fees. Ethan sent Natalie one text. I'm sorry. I was weak. She never replied. By afternoon, the first refunds started hitting mailboxes. Families who had been fined for holiday lights, political signs, and excessive bird feeders suddenly found money back in their accounts with a note. Courtesy of the new transparent HOA, Natalie stood on her porch watching kids ride bikes without fear of a clipboard-wielding tyrant. Her grass was still 2.7 inches perfectly imperfect. Her mailbox was now bright red, her choice, and her old sedan sat proudly in the driveway like a trophy. A neighbor waved. "Hey, Natalie, thanks for what you did. We're having a block party next weekend. No approval needed. You in?" She smiled. The real one. Wouldn't miss it. Later that evening, as the sun set over Willow Creek, Natalie sat on her porch with a glass of wine that actually tasted good. Her phone buzzed. One final email from the State Oversight Board. Investigation complete. Charges recommended against Veronica Harrington and Sloan Harrington for embezzlement and fraud. Thank you for your cooperation. She raised her glass to the quiet street. Here's to community standards, she whispered. The real ones. And somewhere in the distance, you could almost hear the sound of a gavel dropping for the last time. Because in the end, the most powerful weapon against a Karen with a clipboard isn't money or status. It's patience, proof, and the quiet decision to stop playing by rules that were never fair to begin with. The neighborhood slept soundly that night. Lawns slightly uneven, flags flying, bird feeders proudly displayed, and no one, not a single soul, measured a single blade of grass. Justice, it turns out, looks a lot like letting people live. Thank you for listening to this HOA Karen story. Drop a comment. What's the pettiest rule your HOA ever tried to enforce? I read every single one. If you want more neighborhood revenge tales where the little guy wins, smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay free out there. Neighbors.